Hello everyone and welcome to the beautiful Partridge Lakes on Willow Lake. Never ever done a feature on here before, so I can't wait for this. But what's today's session all about here, you ask? Well, for one, it's a crash course because we're going to do it in one. And it's all about getting the most and having a wonderful day's fishing using ground bait. So today I'm using the brand new Sonubaits sweet maple ground bait. The beauty of this ground bait is the fact that it's so versatile. So what I'm going to do today is show you two completely different mixes. One, sort of like your normal mix, if you like, really over wet. I'm going to put that in on my short line, you know, wait sort of half an hour, 40 minutes, get a load of fish there, get them competing, and then go and extract them hopefully. And then the other way I'm going to fish it is, I just love this style of fishing, folks, and that's using like little tiny stodgy balls of ground bait. Now there's ways to mix it, and you can certainly get it wrong if you're not doing it right. It's still carrying that lovely sweet maple flavour, and the fish, honestly, in testing, folks, you can't get enough of it. Obviously still, you know, heavily fish meal based, but with it using the crushed pellets, but not as rich as some ground bait. So you can have a lovely day's fishing on just a bag of ground bait. I've hardly got any bait with me today. We'll go through baits in a sec, but literally I've mixed a full bag of this to start with, mixed it like wet sand, and then what I did, I got a big handful of the dry ground bait out after that, and then I've mixed the rest to wet sand again and put that through a 4mm riddle. So that is what we're going to make the stodge out of. I'm going to do that first, I think, and then this is what has gone through a 4mm riddle. So you can see again, it's really sort of damp, heavy, over wet. That is perfect for what I want on this short line, but for out long, and the reason I like to have it dry is because if you try to mix it like a stodge straight away, it just doesn't go right, folks. It goes rock hard like cement, and it's not having the required consistency what I want for the fish. You want the fish to sort of come in and sort of like attack the ball, yeah? I'm not bothered what I catch today, I just want a lovely day's fishing. I'm not targeting anything in particular. I'm not going to say like works better for one fish than the other. That is the beauty of this ground bait. You will catch absolutely everything. So hopefully we're going to catch everything from gudgeons all the way up to, might catch carp. Yeah, I should catch carp, but F1 skimmers, there's hybrids, there's all sorts in here, folks. Even the odd golden tench. If we catch an instant, that's it, we're going to the pub. But what I like to do first with this is obviously I've taken my handful out, and then I like to introduce me loose offerings, if you like. Now all I'm going to do to this mix is put dead maggots in. I don't like putting live maggots in with this because they crawl all over the place. So dead maggots, and literally all we're going to do is we're just going to get, what's that, sort of, not even a decent handful, is it? It's like, what, probably 150 maggots, if you like. They go into the mix, and then I've just chopped up sort of, not even a quarter of a kilo worm. I've just got some chopped worms there that I've mixed, minced really fine, and I'm just going to put sort of a quarter of that there into the mix. What have we got? Like literally that. You've got to be really careful with the worms. They can draw sometimes the wrong fish in. If you're getting them, I know I said I wasn't bothered about what I caught, but you could sometimes get, you know, overrun by them little waspy perch. You've got to be really careful. That's all I'm going to put in. So the first thing I want to do is just mix that up. Normally do it the other way around, don't I, folks? Normally do rigs in that first, but I'm going to do bait in that first because it's important that you're getting this right. Yeah, so that's what you're left with. That's almost like you'd feed for a feed or something like that. Yeah, so put your bait in first, and then what we need to do is just put little bits of water at a time. So I've got my tub of water here. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit in and just mix that through. You almost want it like you'd have like a paste, obviously not as sloppy as paste, but you want it almost that consistency where, when I show you, little bits sort of break off as it's going through the water column, but more importantly, it's getting down to where you're fishing, and then you put your hook bait right over it, and the fish can come in and pick bits of bait off. So you can see there what I mean about a stodgy mix. I'm just going to pull it into the side like that. Once you start doing that with your tub, if you can get it balling up like it is there, that is absolutely perfect. And all we're going to be feeding is just going to pick out a little tiny bit like that. Yeah, so that little bit like that, that'll have for feeding. That's all we're going to do. That might do. Flipping mate, you might catch 2, 3, 4 fish on that tiny little feed. But you look at the bait that's in there. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 maggots in there, there's a couple of little bits of worm, so there's not enough to like obviously overfeed the fish, but them little bits, you know, obviously that sweet maple going through the mix, that's just going to attract fish into your peg. It's not a way of fishing that's going to get loads of fish into your peg, and that's why I love it so much. You know, we might be waiting a few minutes for a bite, but usually it's sort of like a better stamped fish, and obviously just carrying them particles in and not loose feeding anything over the top, just waiting to find that little pile. It just gets them competing. And when you can start, certainly skimmers, when you can start getting them to eat that ground bait, and obviously picking out your loose offerings around the little pile, oh my days folks, it just works superbly. And that's the only other bait. I've got some obviously live maggots. I've got sort of like a pint and a half of live maggots, if you like. They're going to go in with me feed that I'm going to do short, which we're going to leave for later on. As I said, 30-40 minutes. Ideally in matches I'll be putting, oh blooming heck folks, 6, 7, 8 pots in, you know, 8 sort of like 125mm pots, and just leaving it on the short line, waiting for it to come good later on. But obviously again, crash courses, doing it in a oneer, we're going to fast forward everything today. So I'll probably put 2 or 3 125mm pots in with the maggots. I'm not going to loose feed over the top again, and then we'll see what's what. With the bottom being quite silty on here, the fish tend to give themselves up, so that's what we're going to do. But on top of that, we've just got a few worms, hardly any worms. So all in all folks, it's a cheap day's fishing really. A bag of ground bait, pint and a half of maggots, just some dead maggots that I've had in the freezer for blooming hell since last summer, and we've just chopped like what, probably 20-30 worms up, that's all. So it's a cheap day, and that'll keep you going all session, you know what I mean, whether you're in a match or you know you're just coming out for a pleasure session. I'm going to talk you through the rigs first. We're going to go through, let's go for the stodgy one first. No, let's go for the short one first. As always, line, no, let's go for elastic first actually. 9's Duraslip hybrid, or Dura hybrid. Reason for that is obviously you can see I'm in my t-shirt folks. I think it's the first time this year I've been in my t-shirt. It's nice and warm, the fish is starting to wake up a little bit, so you just want a little bit more cushioning to what I'd normally have. I mean, there's a lot of skimmers in here. Obviously what I've gone down in the past is like the black 8s or even the single 6s. It's not heavy enough for this time of year, so a 9's has got enough cushioning in it for the skimmers. We shouldn't be bumping fish, but then it's got enough backbone if we do hook these big F1s and the odd carp in here. So that's what we're going for. 0.16 main line, which is AccuPower main line. I love 0.16 for, you know, everything swimming this time of year. No need to go any heavier, no need to go any lighter. And then float wise, we have got just a nice simple 412's F1 maggot. You know how much I love these floats. Fish these all the time, especially with the carbon stem. They're just superb, they do exactly what I want. Little tiny number 8 back shot just above the float. Some trimming shot there, just so you know, I know if that float's moved up and down, and or if I wanted to go a little bit deeper, if they scoured the bottom out, I could, but then come back to my original depth. And then coming down the rig, so this is different to what I'm fishing out long on my little stodgy ball. With this one, because of the style of fishing, I just want to get straight into him, straight fishing. I've just got a bulk of 5 number 9s, and I've just got 2 number 10 droppers. Yeah, so literally what I'll do, I'll lay the rig in, bring my shots back over where I fed, flop my float down, so I'm fishing pretty much straight away. It's only a shallow lake this folks, there's no deeper. I wouldn't say there's like over 4 foot of depth anywhere, and that's perfect for fishing how I'm going to fish today, you know, absolutely bang on. And hook length wise, dead simple again, we've got 0.12 AccuPower, and that is on a 4-inch hook length to a size 18 SFLB hook. So really simple, nothing complicated whatsoever, dead simple that rig. That is what we're going to be fishing short. Now for out long, a little bit different in that got a little babby pot on, so when I make my little ball up, I can squash that into the side, go out, either, you know, if they're responding to noise, I can tap it in from a bit of a height, or I can just sneak it in. I'll try sneaking it in first, you know, waiting sort of 5 minutes, then come back and maybe try tapping it in, because they do like the noise, these fish, this time of year. Exactly the same elastic again, 9's Duraslip. I've got a longer bit of line, pole tip to float, just because I like to keep that pole tip a little bit away. You know, when I'm first starting off, I don't really want the pole tip to spook them. Having said that, there's a lot of colour in the water, so that shouldn't make too much of a difference, but I do like to use a longer line anyway. 2 number 8 back shots, just above the float on this one, exactly the same size float. 412's F1 Magpie. It's a little bit shallower out there actually, so I'm fishing this line at 13 metres and I'm fishing my short line at sort of like 6 metres if you like. I'll explain why I'm fishing at angles in a bit. And then shotting wise on this, it's different. We've got tapered shotting on. So these are number 10s. We've got 7 number 10s on here, just nice and tapered down the rig, and it's exactly the same hook length. 0.12 Aki power to a size 18s SFLB hook. Nothing complicated with it whatsoever. Now I've chosen to fish my long line out to my left and my short line a little bit out to my right, so that when I'm bringing fish back on that long line, I'm not spooking what's happening on my short line. It's quite important that, folks, simply because of the depth of water. If I had it a little bit deeper, I'd say like 5 foot, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest, putting my long line right in front of me, my short line. Yeah, then I could worry about like feeding and keeping an army float and all that. But as it is, with it being shallow, I want to keep distances between the swims so that the fish aren't spooking themselves. Yeah, it is warm, there's colour in the water, it's been warm for a few weeks now, but it's still a little bit chilly at night time, so I want to get them fish as confident as possible really. So that's why I've chosen to do what I'm doing. Now starting off wise, where would I start a session? What I'm going to do in a sec, I'm going to ship out to my long swim. I'm lining up with a tree on the far bank. I'm going to put a tiny little grape-sized ball of that in. Then I'm going to come back and feed my short line, and then I'm going to get straight out there and start fishing. So, feeding wise, literally all we're doing, this is our mix here. So you see all I'm going to do, if there's a bit of too much, you know, particles in the mix for you, what I like to do is just break it up and then just pinch a bit out. That's all I'm going to do. That's literally all I'm going to feed to start off with. Yeah, that tiny little bit, just sort of like grape size. You can see there's a few maggots in there. There's sort of like 3 or 4 maggots in there and a tiny little bit of chopped worm. Gone are the days where I feed too much, folks. You haven't seen the short line yet, have we though? But literally that's just going in there. I'm going to feed that. That is going to go straight in on my long line. So just take your time when you're shipping out. Obviously, as always, I'm going to line up with my markers. So I've got my tree over there, and I've got the end of my pole is under my arm here. There we go. Jakey on that? You're not Jakey? So to start with, I'm just going to drop this from a bit of a height, just so it goes in with a bit of a plop. You ready? Hike. There we go. So that's that swim fed out there. Now, obviously, because it is in a stodge, yeah, it's like a paste, if you like. That is going to go straight down to the bottom, rest on the bottom, and then them fish is going to start coming in and breaking it apart. But there'll always be like the odd little particle coming off that ground bait, you know, such as this sweet maple. It's got obviously them flavours in it, and it's just going to draw them fish in. So you're always going to get little bits of particle of ground bait coming off the ball, especially when you drop it in from a high. Now, if I'm getting liners, far lookers, I'll never feed like that. What I'll do is I'll sneak the bait in, yeah? So push it into the corner with a little bobby pot, put it under the water and just let it creep out of its own accord. So it's important that you get used to and understanding what the fish are doing. We don't know what they're going to do yet because we haven't started. Right, onto this short line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some loose offerings in here. So probably, what's that? 40, 50 maggots. I'm going to put them on top of the ground bait, and I'm going to get some more ground bait, put it over, and I'm going to put my pot right over that. So scoop up all them maggots, but I've got all that ground bait in as well. So all them maggots are sort of like in the middle, and I've got ground bait either side. I'm going to put 3. Can I end? I can't do an odd number, folks. No, I can't do an odd number. I've got to put 2 or 4 in. You know I'm going to put 4 in, don't you? And on this line again, because I want a lot of fish here, I'm not going to put it all on top of myself. So again, I've got my marker, pole's on the edge of my elbow. I'm going to drop a little bit short on this, and I've got 2 bulrushes opposite me. Where I plumbed up to is that first bulrush, so I'm going to put that one in there. So you can see that sneaking out. Look at that, folks. It's so good. I'm not going to put maggots in all the time. With this one, I'm literally just going to put loose ground bait in. Yeah, that's literally all I'm going to do. And I'm going to go probably about a foot to the left on this one. So again, get on my marker, come a foot to the left, sneak that under there so you can see all them bubbles coming out as that ground bait's releasing. Look at that, folks. And I'm going to get another one, and I'm going to put some more maggots in on my last go. So I wanted to put 3 in, but thinking I can't do an odd number, folks. This one I'm going to go a little bit more to the right. So you can see I've got a good spread on that bait. I want a good spread on it. Because the fish that are going to come in there, hopefully we'll get a lot of fish there competing, and I just want them nice and confident. And again with this, I'm going to get me sort of like 40-50 maggots if you like, put them on top, get some groundbait over, and then just scoop all them up. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to do this a little bit shorter on my marker, but probably a foot shorter. So I've got a nice spread on that, and I'm not going to bother with that at all. I'm not going to loose feed, I'm literally just going to, that is it. That's all I'm going to feed until we get going on that. That's all we're going to put in. As I said, the fish, you know, where it's silty, they generally give themselves up. And that started. So we're doing it in a oneer. I'm going to start off out. Now, sometimes, you know, when it's proper warm and the fish are right having it, you could probably start there and start catching them straight away. But I want to go up there where I've had that tiny little bit of bait and see what the response is first. So, you know how much I love using white maggots. Certainly when it's bright, I'm going to put 2 dead white maggots on there. You getting in on that, Jakey? He's on it, yeah. 2 dead reds up through the tip, so there's loads of hook exposed, and we're fishing, as I always do, you know, to like the bottom of the body of the float over depth. I always tend to fish like that. And then it's time to get going. So I'm going to get another little pinch of ground bait out on this. Probably a little bit smaller than what I've just fed. Yeah, so again, tiny grape size, a few maggots in it, tiny little bit of worm. That's all we're feeding. I'm going to push that, just squeeze that into the side of my pot so I can ship out nice and fast, and it's not gonna plop out. Right, so laying the rig in then. The wind's blowing left to right, so I'm going to lay the rig in against the wind. I'm going to come back to my marker, and I'm not going to drop it this time. Lift that pot over. I'm just going to sneak that in there. Yeah, and draw my float over it and just hold a tight line. Because I've got this tapered, you know, there's every chance of catching fish through the water with them particles coming off. Now what I've got to do there, so I've laid that in, the rig in from right to left, so the wind's like blowing back nice and tight, but the wind is blowing my float through, so that's why I brought my pole round to the left hand side, so I'm nice and accurate on my marker. It's so important that you're on your markers all the time. It's weird not picking that catapult up and leathering loads of bait in, but as I say, this style of fishing you don't need to. It's such a, as I say, it's a versatile ground bait in that you can do lots of things with it, and it's a really exciting way of fishing. You can actually see we've had a little bit of a liner then. You can see like the particles and the oils of the fish meal coming off that ground bait there. It's just sort of like fizzing on top, if you like. It's a brilliant way of fishing, it really is. And obviously the beauty of having a long bit of line pole tip to float as well, and what it lends itself to is, you know, I can fish around my baited area. You know how much I love to fish slightly past it, you know, left and right, that kind of thing. So hopefully that's going to work really, really well today. What I will experiment, oh, that was a little dink then, there we go, tiny little bite. That didn't take long at all, did it? And that is what this ground bait lends itself to, or this style of fishing with a ground bait anyway. I'm not going to swing skimmers, folks. Catching skimmers like that, I mean, these are proper, but as I say, we're not bothered about, obviously I'm a match angler, I want to be catching in matches, but if I was just coming for a pleasure session, I want to be catching everything swimming. But it's fish like that that are proper weight builders, yeah, little baby skimmers like that, that is what that ground bait's for, catching them style of fish, little baby skimmers. And then obviously the more you go at it, that's when the bigger fish will move in and what have you. And the beauty of it, because it's in that little bowl, I'd still expect, you know, quite a little bit of bait to be there, so I'm not going to feed again. I know, me not feed, I'm not going to do it, just not. Even Jakey's shaking his head, just not going to do it. So on with 2 whites again, and I'm just going to get straight in. Obviously make sure you check your rig, any slime or anything like that. So put that in up there, come back round and just hold a tight line to that float. So if there is any fish through the water, to be catching them. So you can see that ground bait starting to fizz there, just to the left of my float. So it shows you how accurate it is. The beauty of mixing it like that in that stodge, you know it's just going yoink straight down to the bottom. There we go. It's such a good way of fishing. Ooh, go on the jumpers. So how long's that? I mean, this is in real time, this, folks. You know what I mean? No messing about. Real time on them fishes straight away. So good. And it's nice and quick as well. Obviously, I fully expect that bait still to be there. You know, you can see it fizzing, but it's fished like that. They're the weight builders. It's so good. Oh, look at them there. I mean, that's starting to spawn. That's quite rough. Oh, I wouldn't mind 116 of them on Saturday. Got official qualifying here on Saturday, folks. Beautiful skimmery bob. That's probably, I don't know, 9 ounce, 8 or 9 ounce maybe, something like that. Should I change it? Yeah, I've got to change the bait, and I've got to change the bait. But I'm not gonna feed again because it's such a rich bait. It'll just keep fishing. That mix will keep fishing your peg for ages and ages. Now, bearing in mind, obviously, we've not got loads of actual food content in that little ball that we've put in. Literally, like, what will there be there? No more than sort of 5 or 6 maggots, tiny little bit of chopped worm maybe. It's all down to that fish meal, and you know, obviously the sweet, the maple. They love it. Look at them bubbling there. So you know that fish is right on that ground bait. So I should be getting a bite imminently, folks, I would have thought. Now, obviously, you know how much I love a lift and a drop as well. You know, that'll work. But starting off wise, there we go. Oh, we bumped him. That was a tiny fish, that. The maggot's all right. Yeah, we'll go straight back in. If that was a bigger fish, I wouldn't have hesitated. I'd have come straight back, put another little ball in, and then gone straight back out again. But it was only a little babby fish, like probably a little gudgeon or another little tiny skimmer. I'm not going to leave it too long though, just in case. But if I don't get a bite, sort of look at them fizzing just to the right there. If I don't get a bite within another 40 seconds, oh, that was a little dink then. Another 40, that's a bit of slime on that. I'll come back. I'm just going to feed again now. Even though there's still fish there, obviously there's no one else competing for them. You can see there's still fish there. A little bit of slime on the edge of that hook. I'm going to feed another little tiny ball. It just shows you the potency of it, and you know what I mean, just have a lovely day's fishing. Nothing difficult with what we're doing. Really, really simple. Tiny little ball again, make sure there's not too many particles in it. So I've actually picked the ground bait up, I've introduced sort of like 3 maggots into it. There's a tiny bit of worm in it there. That's all we're putting in, and that'll do for another, what, 2 or 3 fish if you like. We know there's fish there because they're fizzing. And we get straight back out to them again. So remember, first things first, lay that rig out, put your bait in, but don't plop it in. If I wasn't getting any signs, any bites, I would plop it in. But as it is, I don't want any particles coming off that whatsoever. I just want that to get straight down there, because I don't want the fish coming off the bottom. Obviously, you know how much I love shallow fishing, but in shallow water, you don't really get them competing the same that you would like if the water was a little bit deeper. So I just want to get straight down there and just get straight into them. So my hook bait's right over the top of that ground bait now. And by all means, experiment with you know, different hook baits. You know, we chop some worm up there. Little bits of chopped worms can be absolutely deadly. But I just love white maggot this time of year, especially when it's bright. I just think it stands out so well. So there, you can really see that visible now with that fizzing of that ground bait and where my float is in relation to it. Yeah, you can't get more accurate than that. You know, oh, blooming put me off them, folks. You know you're getting straight down to the bottom and straight down over that little pile of feed. Oh, it's so good. So I'll catch one more on this, and now I know we've obviously fast forwarded everything, but I'm going to risk it and have a go on that short line, just to see if there's anything rocked up there. The other thing as well, obviously you can see how I've dotted that float down. It's so important. You've seen like the bites that we've had. What if we had 2 skimmers, missed a couple of bites? They're hardly anything. You know, they won't even go under half the time. You just get like a little tiny dink on your float, and that's skimmers down to a T. If it was mainly skimmers you were catching, and you weren't necessarily like seeing the bites proper, hitting the bites, all I'd recommend is going much heavier on your droppers. We've got, see them little dinks then, we've got number 10s on today. If they're proving an absolute nightmare, then I'd say go straight to 8s. Don't bother with 9s, bypass 9s, go straight to 8s droppers. The only trouble you'll have there is obviously fishing through the water, that kind of thing. So what I generally like to do is on this line here, I'll fish a little bit lighter, like while we've got the tapered shots on. And then on my short line, where usually, obviously later on, that's where you're going to get, you know, your bigger fish settle in. Most of your fish, you want to get straight down to them, get job done. That is where I'd use my heavier droppers, because you're getting straight down to them and getting that job done kind of thing. But out there, you know, just stick to slightly lighter shots. It will make a big difference for you. So missed the odd couple of bite there, but you know, that can be expected. But look at that, you know there's fish there. Them bubbles that are coming up, we're just waiting for that fish to find our bait, and you know it will do, because obviously it's got that little tiny pile of ground bait, and the only loose offerings is obviously the tiny few bits that are in the ground bait, and then your hook bait. So it can't fail. It's such an effective way of fishing. Absolutely adore it. And this ground bait as well, this sweet maple, might be my new favourite. Power Scopex was my favourite, and then it was Mega Carp Method Mix, but now it might be sweet maple. It's just ridiculous, folks. It's so good. Right, so we've not had a sign there for 40 seconds or so, 50 seconds. I'm just going to give it a little tiny movement. It might be, there we go. Do you see that little tiny movement? I thought it was going to be another jumper then. That's what you get. That's why I love a lift and a drop. Don't listen to the likes of Jamie the Howers and Bagger. Ringer knows, he likes a movement. Give it a movement, folks. Right, so I think that's proved it in a oneer out there, folks, hasn't it, yeah? Stodgy balls, but it's proved the effectiveness of that sweet maple. Absolutely awesome stuff. Look at that, right in the top lip as well. Beautiful. That's proved everything. I mean, that's like, well, if we had 3 fish we've had, but that's two light peas in a pod, probably a little bit bigger than that last one I had. Right in the top lip there, that's proved that. That's all we need to do on that long line. Just be careful though. Obviously we've seen them fizzing then. You've got to be really careful with it, certainly on silty venues, in respect to them getting too preoccupied. If that does start to happen, and that's another advantage using a longer line, try flicking your rig past it and go left and right, put plummet back on, go a little bit deeper if they have scoured it out, because they can do it. But it's the fact that they're really tuned into that ground bait. They absolutely adore it, and that's why you don't want loads of particles in it. You just want to pick your hook bait out. So, right, let's go and try this short line then. I think it might be a little bit too early, but we fast forward everything, don't we? I think it might be too early, but we don't know. We might be on them. Right, let's see. As I say, it might be a bit early, but we're going to give it a go. Now, I'm not going to go for the dead maggots on this one. I'm still going to go for whites, double white, but live ones, because we put live ones in and I want that vibration on there. I'm going for 2 whites. I think we'll catch. I do think we'll catch. Bearing in mind that that's over a big area. What I'm going to do initially is go straight to my marker, yeah? So pull back of my elbow and I'm on that first bull rush. I can see him fizzing, so I know there's fish there. Right, so let's get on them. Remember this one, I've got a bulk and 2 droppers, so bring my bulk back to my marker, flop my float over, and I'm fishing now. Yeah, pretty much straight away. I'm not going to loose feed, literally I'm just fishing that bait out. Now again, let the fish tell you, like, look at that. So we know there's fish there, a little line straight away, pull to the side. Again, if I tried to if I went down the loose feed route in that depth, you just get fish all over the place. It's such a better way of fishing, certainly on these kind of venues, these shallower venues, putting the bait in and fishing it out. There's a lot of fish there. I can see them sort of like little bits of bubbles coming up and this, that and the other. It might be that I need to, you know, move around the area a little bit until I pick up a few, and that's the beauty of feeding over a big spot. Because I've put a lot of bait in, I don't want them all on top of themselves. I want a lot of fish there, spread out a little bit, so I can, you know, position my rig and pick the fish off. That was a little dink then. I forgot to strike then, do apologise. But again, you know, if it's skimmers, that's something you will get, them little tiny dinks. You're not necessarily going to get a big doing, a big wallop, that kind of thing. The beauty of putting it in loose as well on this line is the fact that it's going to sit on top of the silt. So the fish aren't necessarily going to scour that bottom out how they would, you know, using them little stodgy balls. But it's obviously it's nowhere near as accurate. You know, this is all about sort of last 2 or 3 hours of a session or a match, carnage, loads of fish there, go and pick them off as quick as you can. Now obviously you can see the bubbles that are coming up, we're getting liners, hopefully we'll catch some fish in a sec. As soon as that stops and you stop seeing signs, that for me tells you that the fish have backed off a little bit and you need to feed it again. We won't, obviously doing this today, we won't have time to do that, because that bait that I've put in, flipping it, that's going to last at least an hour. Even, you know, them size of skimmers that we've had out long, you know, sort of 8, 9, 10 ounces, you have a big shoal of them there. It's going to take them quite a bit of time to, you know, eat all that ground bait, plus the maggots as well that we put in. So just give it a little bit of a movement there, and then we'll wait for it. As I say, I'm right on my marker at the minute, but what I might do next is just go foot to the left, you know what I mean, foot to the right, that kind of thing, because I've put it over a big area. I don't necessarily need to fish on my marker. What I would say though, when you're plumbing up, just make sure you've got the same or similar-ish depth around where you're fishing, you know, like a good 2 foot square, that kind of thing. Just make sure it's similar depth. If you find, that was a little dink then, right, I'm just going to go a little bit more to the right this time, right on top of them bubbles there that I've just seen. If you do find that you know, it does deepen off a little bit, or you know, sort of like goes 8-10 inches deeper, then I would find another area where you have got it fairly flat. You know, a little deviation of 1 inch or 2 is not too bad, but if it suddenly goes like 8 inches deeper then comes back shallower, I wouldn't really fish there. Always go to like a similar-ish depth. Now obviously you can see straight away that the fish, obviously there's fish there, but because we've fast forwarded everything for you lovely lot, they're just not settled yet. Obviously I wouldn't, this would be an hour and a half maybe in a match before I'd even go on it, but I just wanted to give you an insight into, look at this here. Yes, it could be carp coming in that. I just wanted to give you an insight into how you started off and how you feed it. Hopefully we'll catch them. You can see there's that many fish there. I can't see us not catching. The next thing I'll try is red maggots here. You know, that might make a difference. Or a little bit of worm as well. You know, worm would work. But one thing's for sure, certainly for you know, whether you're having a pleasure session or if you're in a match, seeing things like that just gives you so much confidence. You know there's a lot of fish there. You just need to wait for them to settle down. And that is the only thing. Obviously we've just gone on it too early. But we'll catch. I'm pretty sure we'll get a bite on it. Pretty sure we're going to catch. Go on the bubbles. Bubble come up right next to my float there. So we're sort of 8 inches to, no, another little dink then. 8 inches to the right of where, another little dink then, of where my main marker is. Move it a little bit more again. So you can see I'm a little bit more active on this. Just trying to nick the fish's attention by them watching that bait fall back down. It's obvious, yeah, I think they're liners then. You can see your float like dipping off like that. Could be carp, you know, could be a few carp going in there, could be a big F, could be anything. That's the beauty of this style of fishing. And on these kind of waters, you literally don't know what you're going to catch next. That's why I love it so much. Love this style of fishing. But it's pointless me like introducing maggots now, you know, loose feeding maggots, because we've got fish there and we're trying to, you know, pin them on the bottom. There we go. You see, that was off my main, yeah, you go on the jumpers, that was off my main feed. But it's fish like that that are proper weight builders, certainly in matches, you know, again, sort of 8 ounce fish if you like. Beautiful little poppadom, proper slimy little poppadoms them. Really healthy fish them. And they thrive in these kind of waters, you know, these kind of commercials where, you know, they get left alone a lot. Certainly with anglers fishing for like the carp and the F1s. Right, I'm just going to try red maggot to see if that makes a difference. It's just gone a little bit overcast, so you know what I'm like in my blooming theories and all that, folks, with the light conditions. And we're going to go to the right again where we've had that. So lay it out to the side, bring that shots over, flop your float over, and then you're fishing now, fishing straight away. So just see the difference with the red maggot, see if it does make a difference. But it's so fast, so quick, don't need to loose feed. Not a little dink then, flop it back down. There's a lot of fish there, but they're just not, I wouldn't say they're overly confident at the minute. Whoa, that was a proper bite. Struck a bit hard then. So you can see what the other bites that I've had, I've literally just been lifting up. If you miss it, the line, there's nothing there, just flop your rig straight back down. That's the beauty of that shot in. You're not going to get in any tangles or anything like that, and you're fishing straight away. So that's what, we're probably 10 or 12 inches to the right of where the main sort of markers, if you like. But again, don't bother me at all, because I overspread that bait. So good. Quite often times as well, it's, you know, you will pick fish up from the outskirts rather than going, you know, into your main feed. And fish do love to back off. Give it a little bit of a movement. Got to catch another fish there. Just got to. Just got to go. Can't fail. Literally can't fail. There's bubbles, little tiny pinprick bubbles coming up all over the place there. Lots of fish there. My float's sort of like moving a little bit, dancing a little bit. I'm going to lift it out, bring it back a little bit. So we're probably, what are we there? 8 inches away from the main marker there. Just slightly past it as well. There's another big patch of bubbles come up there. I reckon, folks, another 40 minutes to an hour from now, this swim would be like lift off, get ready time. I think it'd be absolute carnage. We've just gone on it too early. We know we've gone on it too early. Should still be out there. But we're not being. Tried a different bait, that can make all the difference sometimes, you know, different coloured duck bait. It will make a difference. Fizzing slightly past it. That might be my next option, just to flip the rig out. You know, so it's just past me back shots. The fizzing on that second pot that I put in, where I put it sort of like a couple of foot to the left of my main marker. There's just a lot of fish there. Now, one thing that I would say, wouldn't yet, if you're carrying on getting all that like fizzing, obviously the fish are erupting that bottom and digging into the silt, put a plummet back on and see if they've moved depth. It shouldn't affect it too much on this style of fishing with that loose ground bait over the top, but it might do on that, you know, when you stodgy your balls, stodgy your ground bait, if you like. See, another little dink then. Give that another movement. Just love it. I love sort of like this patient style, and then you get them little dinks and it's like a decent fish. It's a great way of fishing. It really is. Go on, skimmery bobs. Hey, go on the jumpers. Well, that didn't take long. A little bit longer on red maggots, I'd say, than white magpies, but just shows you done it. As I say, another 40 minutes on that line, I reckon it'd be absolutely lifting. Ridiculous. But that's biggest one. I think we'll end on that one. Look at that. Beautiful poppadom. It's probably 10 ounce, something like that, him. Right in the top lip again. That goes back there. Oh, I'm so happy, folks, that we caught when we fast forwarded. I knew it'd be solid there, but you know, leaving it a little bit longer, and you really get a good insight into it. But that's all there is. That's all there is to it. It's all about keeping it simple, but choosing the right ground baits. Yeah, that's the beauty of obviously the sweet maple. Is the the flavours in it, they're transcending into the water, and the fish are actually getting the flavours of that rather than it sort of like washing off into the water. It's absolutely superb stuff. Really versatile too, yeah? Two completely different mixes there. Stodgy one for, you know, really zoning the fish into where you want them, getting your hook bait right over it and fishing super accurate. And then obviously fishing sort of like the over wet ground bait over a big area, get flipping loads of fish there, get them competing, get them confident, and then go and extract them. Obviously we've gone on it a bit early, but it still gives you that little bit of an insight into what it would be like later on. So as always folks, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to carry on for a bit more. Jakey's not going to get a look in today because I'm going to wallop a load more skimmers out and then go and catch some F1s, and then big garden weather, innit? We're going to get to the pub. Hey!